Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Corporate Vice President, Windows Phone Program Management, Microsoft, Joe Belfiore.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Joe Belfiore. I run program management and design for Windows Phone, and I'm excited to be here today with all of you. Actually, let me ask, do we have Brandon Foy in the audience up here somewhere? Brandon Foy? Can you come up here, Brandon? That video you all just saw, Brandon made. I want to introduce Brandon. I don't think Brandon knew we were going to do this. Here, turn around. Brandon is 24, is that right?
Yes.
24, and Brandon just made a fan video on his own, accurate?
Yeah.
Posted on YouTube.
Yeah.
A bunch of people forwarded it to us and said, man, this video is great. You guys should make TV commercials like this video. So we said, well, that's a cool idea. And we reached out to Brandon and said, Brandon, would you make a video for us, a commercial of all our developer apps for Mix to show at the conference? So that video you saw, Brandon said yes. Brandon made that video as a passionate member of the community to show a bunch of the work that you all did. And we were excited to have you here. So what did you guys think of Brandon's video? Cool. Now, actually, one more thing. Do you think you like it enough that you could help us tell other people about it? Get your Twitter clients ready, because what we'd like to do is, if we get enough people looking at it, we'd like to actually turn it into a TV commercial. How does that sound? Wow. So get your Twitter clients going. Here's the URL. Brandon's video is on youtube.com/Windows Phone. If we can get 200,000 views, then we're going to put his video on TV. So we just wanted to start with that as an example of great support from our community. Thanks, Brandon, for coming so long. It just felt like a good thematic thing to do since the community matters so much to us. Now, before I jump into a bunch of content about Windows Phone futures and what we're going to be doing, I want to spend a little bit of time on our update situation. Many of you probably followed. I did a brief, informal intro video for Mix on the Mix website, and I, out of lack of preparation, mistakenly said something like, most people have the February update, and I was wrong. So I posted a comment on the blog acknowledging the mistake that I made and said when I came to Mix, I would talk a little bit about updates and explain a little bit about what's going on. So I want to do that for 2 or 3 minutes before I jump into the content. The first thing that a lot of people have asked about is, why are the updates later than we expected? When we did our announcement, we said that we'd have the copy-paste update available early in the year. We had expected it to be earlier than now. It's now rolling out. It's not available to everyone yet because some mobile operators are still testing it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why that happened. We had finished our software and handed it off to our team that does the update process, and they actually started deploying the update. But what happened was we found issues with the way the update was getting deployed on phones because of things that we hadn't anticipated that happened as real phones were manufactured. And I'll give you an example of this kind of thing. We'd done lots of testing on pre-manufactured phones, but as phones were coming off the manufacturing lines, some of them had characteristics that we hadn't seen before. One example was less than 100 phones coming from one of the handset vendors had a manufacturing setting that was left on the phone to indicate that something had gone wrong in flashing the phone in manufacturing. The phones got out in the wild, they worked okay for end users, but when we tried to apply the update, it switched the phone back into like a factory diagnostic mode, so the update didn't work correctly. We saw a few things like that. There was no one issue, and none of the issues were particularly widespread, but as we started doing the update, we didn't know whether they were widespread or not, so we stopped and we added extra capability and infrastructure to the way we did updates. We patched our Zune PC client. We improved the way we do throttling to get updates out to people in sort of a gradual way. And that took extra time that we weren't anticipating at the time of launch. So we felt it would be better to be a little bit patient, make sure that when we get updates out that they would happen reliably, and unfortunately that caused a delay in getting things out. We're pretty optimistic that we've gone through that learning process and that we're not going to face those kind of issues in the future, but we want to get all the way through it. The second question that people have asked about is who approves updates or who decides when they can ship? And when I look at a lot of the comments in the blog posts, there's a lot of assumptions that people are making and frustration that people seem to be having around the fact that different mobile operators have updates coming to the phones on their networks at different times. The fact is, from our point of view, the mobile operators have a very real and reasonable interest in testing updates and making sure they're going to work well on their phones and on their networks. And especially if you think about large operators with huge networks. They are the retailer who sells the phone, so they have to deal with returns. They take the support calls, and they have to worry about whether their network will stay up and perform well for everyone. And for the most part, the large operators think about updates very similar to the way they think about selling a phone at a store. They want to make sure that it's going to work in a way they understand and is going to be predictable. And from our point of view, that's quite reasonable. And our belief and understanding is that it's standard practice in the industry and that phones from all different vendors undergo operator testing before the updates are made available. The thing that's a little bit different about our process is that we build the update and we deploy it from our Microsoft servers to everyone. And we've decided to deploy updates when they're ready for open market phones and for the operators that approve them. So the operators that have a quicker process or require less testing, the updates come out more quickly. And that has sort of the unfortunate effect of, if you're one of the people on an operator that's taking longer, you might know that other people have the update while you don't. We made a decision to do that rather than go through all of the testing and wait for an end date and then give it to everybody at once, because that would result in some people getting it later. We're still going through this and getting reactions from everyone and trying to figure out the best way to do it. We think that these things will go faster in the future, but we also think it's pretty reasonable to support the operators in their need and desire to be able to support phones and support their customers. So that's sort of the answer to the question about who decides when they go. And then last, have we learned from this, and do we think it's going to get better? I would definitely say yes. We brought many years of PC experience to the table in terms of infrastructure for doing updates, but the fact is that phones are different in some pretty significant ways that we've now, I think, got a handle on. One is the OEMs do a lot more of the core operating system code on phones than they do on PCs, so those manufacturing type issues are different on phones than they would be on PCs. Similarly, the mobile operators play a role in testing, and we're still trying to figure out the best processes for doing that. We have tried to improve the team that does this infrastructure. We've added people. We've staffed it up to make sure we can do it as quickly as we can. We've improved our infrastructure and our testing methodologies, including some of the things I described earlier. And we're trying to get better at communicating about all of this. And I know it's been frustrating not to get very clear and specific facts. One thing we've struggled with is each of these things involves us and the OEMs or handset manufacturers and the mobile operators, and it's hard to coordinate which things we can say about what other people are doing. We're going to try to keep getting better at it. We've added the Where's My Update page. We're going to update it regularly, and we expect that we're going to get these problems licked and get good at this and have no problems in the future. So I just wanted to talk about that, give you a little bit of our perspective and some of the facts, and now I'm going to move on and talk about apps and some future of Windows Phone stuff. So, before I jump in on the next version, it's worth a quick look back at what all you have been able to accomplish in terms of apps for Windows Phone. And I want to say a big thank you to all of you. What was represented on the screen there was the 12,000 plus, nearly 13,000 apps that are now on the marketplace just 6 months out of launch. There's north of 35,000 developers that are registered, 1.5 million tool downloads. We're seeing really good apps, which is something that we care a lot about. We want end users to delight in the quality of these apps. We're seeing intriguing apps from individual developers that do really cool and fun things, and we're seeing great brands. There's some terrific recent brands that have come online, like ESPN and the New York Times and Zillow. So the marketplace continues to fill out. We're deeply appreciative of the work that you all have done to help make the Windows Phone app marketplace a compelling place for end users to get apps. Now I want to start looking forward and talking about what's coming later this year. We have a significant update that's going to be available to all users of current Windows 7 phones and will be available on new phones in the fall. Our code name for that is Mango, so you'll hear me and us say Mango. And I want to talk to you about a bunch of the stuff that's coming for developers in Mango. We're not yet talking about the end user features. These are the things we're doing for developers. And I'm going to cover these in 3 areas. The first is things that we know you'll care about, that you've been asking us for, to increase your opportunity. How can you sell more apps to more people and get more engaged users using your apps in a more satisfying way? So I'm going to talk about some of the things we're doing to improve your opportunity. Second, I'm going to talk about new platform capabilities that we're delivering as part of the Mango release that will let you build better apps for end users. And then last, I'm going to bring Scott out, and we're going to transition over to Scott. And he's going to talk about improvements that we're making in the tools and runtimes and show you how you write some of those apps and how much better the developer experience is going to get with this update. So that's what I'm going to cover. Let me start right in and start talking about the opportunity. Opportunity is really about getting you more customers and improving the number of people that are using your apps and getting access to them. And the first thing that I want to talk about here really is the scale of users. A lot of you probably have noticed in the press that in the last few weeks, separately, IDC and Gartner both issued reports suggesting that by 2015, the Windows Phone ecosystem would be the second largest smartphone ecosystem in the world. We were pretty excited to see our strategy validated in that way. No doubt that was helped by the developer support we're getting and the fast rise of apps in the marketplace. I think people are looking at us and saying the platform is credible and is growing quickly. And it's certainly also greatly helped by the announcement of the Nokia deal. We're incredibly excited to have Nokia as a partner. I've been spending a bunch of time with them. People in our team have been spending time with them. And we're making really terrific progress in engineering work. And actually, to that end, I wanted to take a moment and introduce to you Marco Argenti from Nokia, who wanted to come on stage with me and talk to all of you, including some of the Symbian developers who I know have come to Mix to hear a little bit about Windows Phone and Windows Phone platform. So Marco, why don't you come out and say hello to our Mix